How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining me today. These are the supplies that you are going to be using today. Pencil, water for your brushes, basically just to clean them or if you need a little bit of water on them. You're gonna need some watercolors. Any kind of watercolors would work. You're gonna need 3 brushes, one big one, one medium one small one, and some paper. That's gonna be your supply list for today. And for today, we're going to be going to the nearest park you have. Or you can just go to your backyard, or you can paint your neighbor's backyard. A lot of people sometimes have a lot of interesting gardens all around, and it doesn't really have to be a garden. It can be the neighborhood most colorful tree. This right here, it's going to be the area that I'm going to be painting, that I'm going to be sitting at. It's a beautiful day. Se ve muy bonito afuera. It's really beautiful outside. Who is this person? Well, hello. I didn't get to say hello when I saw this person, but hello. So whenever I do plein air or in Spanish, al aire libre, I usually like to bring my backpack with me. I have all my supplies in there. I have my watercolors, my sketchbook, my water, my pencils, my brushes. I have so many things in there. I have my entire house in there, in my opinion. Well, I should have my entire house in there. I take it with me everywhere. So I like to start with a big brush. You don't have to have the fancy brushes that I have, but the big brush helps at the beginning for basically everything. That's how you're going to be making the background first, and you're going to be doing all of that. So I spray everything. Well, I just spray the little page first, just because I like to spray my paper so it can get wet and all of that. And I just start drawing, sketching with my pencil first. I just want to say that you don't really have to have really fancy brushes like I do. I really like brushes, and I collect brushes sometimes too much, and I have these fancy brushes now that I carry with me, but you don't need them. You can just get the cheaper version of them, and they work just as fine. So after I finish sketching, I use the big brush that I have. I usually use like maybe 3 brushes, a big one, a medium one, and a detailed one. And I start blocking in colors. And I don't necessarily really make it look exactly the same as what I see, but I just try to get in shapes. Those really nice shapes. Because if you really think about it, everything is basically like a shape. At least in my head, everything is like a shape. So I kept on painting, and I was watching what I was doing, and I was laughing with Mr. Daniel and Miss Frida. You'll get to see Miss Frida's video next week after mine. But if you already tuned in, you already saw Mr. Daniel. So here, I was getting kind of tired of sitting for a while, and sometimes you gotta take a break. 1 or 2 breaks. I came back to it, and as you can see, I basically had blocked out the majority of my page with a big brush. Like I said, using that big brush really helps. It helps you paint faster, and it helps you organize your shapes much better. And it's just much better to use a big brush first. I step back a little bit just to look at it from far away, make sure that it looks good. I step away from it. Sometimes, like I said, you need a break sometimes. A little small break. Sometimes, if you're using watercolors like I am, you need to make sure that it dries for a little bit. So you set it down and you enjoy. Enjoy nature. And after that, you just go back to it. And I mostly basically just do a lot of this because I want to be able to know my neighborhood and be able to know my community. And so I just go around and sometimes just paint in random places. So al aire libre or plein air is basically just painting outside, painting on site, painting your environment. It doesn't necessarily have to be a park. It can also be a building. It could be basically anything as long as it's on site and you're doing it right there and then. And a lot of impressionists did this kind of paintings. One of the most famous painters, like Van Gogh, he would grab his paints and go and search for his landscape that he wanted to paint, and he would paint it. And he would use oils. I like to use watercolors. Oils I use once in a while. But right here, as you can see, I use a smaller brush. I call this the medium brush. It's a good brush. It's pretty good. So it's the second brush that I use after I blocked in all my colors that I like to block in, and I keep on painting with it, keep adding more detail, smaller detail actually. Sometimes I do feel like we forget to relax, and for me, doing something like this is always relaxing. I get to enjoy nature, and I get to meet new people. I get to meet a lot of people, and sometimes I get to meet dogs, which are my favorite because I have a dog, and his name is Sergeant. So here is where I start to use a detail brush, the smallest brush of them all, basically. And this brush is what I use to make all the branches or in the trunk and add those little small little details like the leaves on the ground and all that.
fits right here. Because if it's right there, then... Alright, now look back at the camera.